Hi, it's Mikko from Greenrose Faire, and now I'm going to continue my musical career story. In the previous video, I talked about my starting steps on classical acoustic nylon string guitar, and I want to make a point that I will now skip a lot of things, a lot of bands and projects, and some of which people might consider the highlights of my career, like some of the achievements or something. But I want to emphasize the turning points of my career, the small things that made a huge difference. So yeah, I was a young boy. I wanted to play electric guitar, and I was fortunate enough to get one on my 11th birthday. Now that guitar was my dad's old guitar, but I wasn't aware of it because it wasn't around the house anywhere. It was stored elsewhere, and my uncle was able to stop by and pick it up. So I had my birthday party and I heard the doorbell ring and I went to check who's there, and my uncle was holding that guitar like this. And I will never ever forget the sight because it meant the world to me then. The guitar itself wasn't anything spectacular. It was playable, that was great. So I was able to continue playing punk and rock with my classmates, and sometimes we tried to play a little heavy metal, but we couldn't really. We didn't have the skills at that time. But we kept practicing. A couple of years later, I got another guitar, a bit better suited for that style, but it wasn't really any better. But we kept going. And a couple of years later still, I got this one. And this is a really good guitar. I still love to play it, and I will never get rid of it because it's so important for me. And it's a great guitar. It's still very useful when recording, for example. So yeah, if you judge by the looks of this guitar, you are completely correct. I was playing 80s influenced heavy metal and heavy rock in a band that we had formed, and the name of the band was Eradication. And actually still is. That band exists. We're on hiatus, but will be active in sometime in the future, I'm sure. That band is so important for me because I have written a lot of material and influenced the style of the band a lot. And by the way, that style has changed over the years tremendously. So I will come back to this band a bit later on. I was also taking guitar lessons at that time, and I was active at the band school at the local community college. And these studying activities were very important. They shaped my musical DNA a lot. I studied theory at that time, and I think it has made a huge impact. I love to know how things work, and music theory explains how music works. At the band school, I was exposed to many styles of music, many genres. So we were playing pop and rock, as you would probably expect, but we were also playing jazz and blues and even Latin. So I learned a lot of basics from different genres. And that's so important for me because later on I have loved to combine elements from different genres together to keep things fresh and not be stuck in something that someone once did and just replicating that same thing over and over. But this being able to pick one thing from one genre and another thing from another has enabled me to keep it fresh and develop a sound for myself. I was also active in a pop rock band. I played guitar, and I think that band was fairly potential actually. We had catchy songs that one of us wrote. We played gigs and we did a demo, but eventually life happened. We were the same age and we finished high school, upper secondary, if you will, and we started our military service and we went to university. So we basically spread out and broke up because of it. But funny thing related to that band is just a couple of years ago, I heard accidentally a song on the radio. And I never listened to radio myself, but I was in a place where the radio was playing and I heard a song. And it had the chorus of one of our old songs. And I was truly shocked and amazed and very, very surprised. And it turned out that the songwriter had taken that song, that chorus, into good use, and now it was in a song of a major label rapper. But it was truly surprising. Well, back to the story. I went to university. I didn't study music, but there was an active music scene at the university campus. I played in many cover bands, like full band lineups and small acoustic groups. And I also played gigs, solo troubadour gigs. There were plenty of opportunities to play gigs, so it was very good experience. There were a lot of student parties, which we played at. And also I was active at the tech side of things. So I was roadie and I was mixing the stage for other people performing. And sometimes I even mixed the front of house. And very good experience for my playing career and my other activities in music, like recording and producing. Very good experience there. At the same time, I was at the university, I was still active in eradication. And as with the pop band, life happened. And we kind of broke up. Two members had to leave, they were not able to participate on a weekly basis. We were lucky to get our original guitar player back. And then I made a decision that, hey, I want to complete that lineup on the bass. So we make it a power trio. And at that time, I became very serious about learning the bass as an instrument. In the past, I had played bass, but I never took it seriously enough to learn it really well. For example, at that time, I learned to play with my fingers instead of a pick, which I always relied on before that. So it gave me a lot of opportunities to use different techniques and different sounds when playing with my fingers. And actually I have my bass here, which I got at that time. So it's a Fender Precision bass, pretty basic bass, but it worked and it was my first decent bass. In addition to changing the lineup, we also changed the style of the band dramatically. We were pushing it to a more progressive direction all the time.
Keep the image clean, dollar scream, all they need to be in charge.
And unfortunately, we had more lineup changes. So our guitar player left, and we got another one who, after a couple of years, left. And at that point, we had recorded more and more progressive music, and we were pretty sick with the drummer, the core. Me and the drummer, the core of that band, with people coming and going, and we are not able to make anything work because of it. So we decided that we wanted to make it a studio band from that point on, and work on the music, just the two of us. So write songs, rehearse them for recording, record them, release them, and start over writing new stuff. And we took that approach pretty far. I'm talking about 2016 now already. And we had written like one song that featured a lot of advanced compositional techniques that were not used in rock music typically at all. They were more like techniques from 20th century, early 20th century art music. So really, really complicated stuff. And at that time, I was very eager to get back to playing live and collaborating on a bit more accessible music that everyone could enjoy. And in 2017, there was this catalyst moment that really changed a lot of things in my music career. I was going to see a Greenrose Faire gig at the Medieval Folk Festival that summer. And I had seen the band plenty of times at that point, and I always loved the shows and loved the music, listened to the albums a lot. But the Greenrose Faire was not the band that really fueled my passion to play in a gigging band again. It was the band before them at that festival, and the band is called Mammoth. And you may know it is Meiju's band, so our paths really start to cross here. So I was very, very obsessed after the gig. It was tremendously good stuff, like how they blend their acoustic instrument with the electric sounds, and they create a world, like this fantasy world where everything works together. Although the sounds, if you just think of them as sounds, they don't really belong together. I don't know how they do it, but it is amazing. And I got completely obsessed with the band. That autumn I didn't listen to anything else except Mammoth and the stuff that I was working on myself. So I got so inspired, and the same evening I still looked up a band who was looking for a guitar player, and I auditioned the next day and got the gig, and then I was trying to push my gigging career forward again. Unfortunately, it didn't really work out that well, so I ended up joining other bands as well and leaving bands and whatnot. But that's life. I was still all the time very, very motivated. And that autumn, also, another crazy, crazy thing happened. And once again, it's the Greenrose Faire magic. I was about to see the 10th anniversary concert in Tampere, and I just happened to arrive at the same time as Mammoth, who about to see the show. They weren't playing, but they were just there to see the concert. And I met them in the hall, and I had the opportunity to say hi and introduce myself and talk about my love for the music, and it was a great conversation, really inspiring. But it got even better. The concert was about to start, so I went to find my seat. There were numbers in the tickets, so I found my seat. And just a moment later, Meiju comes and sits right next to me. And the next seat, she had that seat. And that was just unbelievable. And we had a nice chance to discuss music for a good 10 or 15 minutes before the concert actually started. And that was incredibly inspiring as well. Well, I think we pretty much now got to the point where everything ties together. We were the two people to replace the then current keyboard player and bass player on stage. My music career right now is as interesting as it ever has been. A lot of things happening, too many things going to talk about them in detail. So if you're interested, find my Facebook profile or my Instagram profile and see what I'm posting there. Or just send me a message or comment and I'll get back to you. Or if you have anything else to comment, please comment. I love to discuss these things. And I think I'm done now. It's a very long video already. I hope you watch it till the end. But yeah, I'm going to go now. So have a nice day, like and subscribe. Bye bye.